Good morning, boys and girls. How are we today? Oh, check this out here. Check that out, guys. 59 degrees. Wow. I would say this is getting to be the last gasp of Florida winter. Yeah. What the heck's the date today? April 17. Wow. Of course, I saw this morning up there in Michigan. I think Wolverine Martin was 20 something degrees. But I think Martin's got, I think he told me yesterday he's got like 10 more days before he goes north. Yeah, he's a pretty cool little trick. He runs 6 months here, 6 months up there. Gives you a little break, back and forth. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. What I wanted to show you today, we're going to do some snaring. Yeah, a little snaring. Now, this is about $2 cheaper. These Publix, I don't know if you have a Publix near you, grocery, where shopping is a pleasure. Can you believe it? That's their motto. So these are dry mop wipes, unscented. And then I got a bag of these things, and what I did, I'll show you. Yeah, we're gonna do some foot snaring. A little foot snare. I actually love snaring, guys. When I turned into a trapper, I guess back in the day I was watching a lot of Daniel Boone, and they didn't have any trapper shows, anything like that. But I made money back in the day trapping and selling critters when I was a young little lad. Oh God, I couldn't have been but about 13. About the same time I was getting into bees. And yeah, I started trapping, but I was trapping with steel traps. And I had always watched and looked at these read articles and stuff about snaring critters. Well, when it's time to start snaring critters, I mean trapping critters with steel traps, you got to be on top of your game. And you can trap stupid stuff like rabbits and all, and actually great squirrels. Not legally, but back in the day, who cared, right? Who cares? Anyway, and I would meat trap. I would sell my animals to the black people. They love me. They were calling me freaking Tarzan, guys, back in the day. What you got for me today, Tarzan? And I had a World War II. I was sneaking around, got into Dad's World War II little treasures that he brought back when he was in World War II. He had all kind of stuff. He got a 45, a Luger, it was a Luger 45 off of a dead, I don't know, captain or whatever. Found a dead captain. He was in the artillery division, so they're 5 miles back from the front, right? And by the time they got forward, they were causing all kind of damage in the back, shooting howitzer rounds. I think he was shooting a pop gun like I had in Michigan, in Lansing, Michigan, there at the armory. We had 6 deuce-and-a-half trucks dragging a 105 howitzer, and they called them pop guns because they were smaller, but the shells were heavy. I mean, yeah, my dumbass, if you weren't real swift, they made you an ammo bear. You had to break open them box wood cases, and there was 2 rounds in each case. And yeah. So anyway, I went into his goodie pile. He had an old what do you call it? Duffel bag full of all kinds of knives, bayonets that he took off of dead Krauts. Yeah, dead Germans. He would take them and put in it his bag, and you were allowed so much. You were even allowed, he told me back in the day, that you could bring home a couple weapons. They wouldn't let you bring home a Tommy gun, you know, a machine gun, but you can bring back, I think, about all the knives you want within a limit of, you know, weight. So he brought me, so I stole one of his bayonets, and it had a hip carrying case on it, and I put that thing on my hip here, and I said, well, if I go into the housing development, I need some protection. No, I didn't need no protection. These people were, and they loved me, guys. When they found out what I was doing and what I was bringing them, they loved me. And the little black kids that come running up, what you got today? I said, go get your daddy. They'd look in the wagon. I had a little red wagon. I stole that too from one of my siblings. I was the second oldest, so I had a bunch of siblings, 7 of us kids. So, and I ended up changing diapers on a lot of them. Yeah, they wrote me into that, stinky diapers. But anyway, I stole one of their wagons, and I had a little carpentry skills. And Dad always had extra scrap of wood and crap. He saved everything. And I put a rim around that thing. I had cages. I used to set not long lines, but bank lines, and catch soft-shelled turtles. The blacks love soft-shelled turtles. And so do the Asians, too. They love them. Anyway, I didn't have many of them slanty eyes, but I had the black people that loved them. So I would sell them. And that's how I made all my money. I would buy arrows. I would buy 22 ammunition. Yes. I had money to buy Prince Albert in a can. Every once in a while I'd treat myself to a brand new corncob pipe. I had it going on, guys. I had it going on. Yeah, I'm strolling down memory lane because, you know, I used to trap critters. So, but today what we're trapping, and I don't know if you can see this, fuzziness on here. Now you take, this little wooden brush here. You can get them in any hardware store. They come in different deals. You got steel. This one happens to be stainless steel. I used this a lot in the taxidermy business. When I was in taxidermy, I can texture noses with this thing. In other words, I could put epoxy sculpt. It was a 2-part epoxy. I know there's a lot of information here, but I'm just trying to get you to see where I'm going with all this. And I would put that epoxy sculpt in on their noses and stuff, and then to texture it, wild hogs too, I could texture it with this brush. I could just tap on it, and it give you a little texture on that epoxy sculpt. You had to do it while it was, you know, still pliable. And definitely in 24 hours, it locks up because of epoxy type clay, and so it's there. Anything you texture it with, it's there permanently once it dries, right? So anyway, this is what I'm doing here. I don't know if I can do this with one hand or not, but you just hit it and pick it up. See it? See all the fibers I'm picking up out of this thing? But what I'm doing actually, this is not working out well because it really sticks hard. You just kind of drop it and pick it up, drop it and pick it up. What I'm doing here is making a whole bunch, if you can see it there, a whole bunch of little leg snares. Beetle, Hive Beetle leg snares. So I'm expanding, you know, my snaring skills. Yeah, I got very good, guys, very good at snaring critters. I just kind of hung up the steel traps and I said, man, this sucks. They get caught in there or they'll trip the trap and the bigger critters will step in it and then pull out. And but the snares, I'd always try to set them to get a neck hit on them. And once you get a neck hit on them, the majority of the animals check out very quickly. And I've watched them on video, actually, on trail cameras. I'd set them on video to watch exactly how the critter got in the snare and how fast he checked out. They will check themselves out very fast. I've had a few live coyotes. I've only had one bobcat that was still alive. Most because in that one was caught right around the chest area, so he could still breathe. If you neck catch a fox, a coyote, or whatever, they go ape, shizit in that thing. I caught a bobcat. I was the biggest bobcat. This taxiderm over here on 41. I gave it to a buddy of mine. He said I showed him some of my trail cam pics of coyotes, and he got real excited. He said, "See if you can get that big bobcat and that black coyote. Well, that's going to be really cool. I can put that in my man cave." Well, I ended up catching him two coyotes, the black coyote, and the biggest bobcat that this guy over here has ever seen in Florida. He said, I mount a bunch of these things. That thing was huge. And matter of fact, he had to buy the largest mannequin he could find for that bobcat. And then he had to modify it to get more length and more bulk to it with foam. Use urethane foam, number 2, I think it is, they call it. That's actually the foam that you use, urethane foam to use for deer heads, hog heads, and all. It's a tougher foam. It's a little denser. The other foam, the cheap foam, is just too light. You can't mount a skin on it. It's just too weak. You can't use it. But anyway, yeah, he had to modify that sucker. So anyway, I got to thinking about this brush here. Look at all that fiber I picked up. See it? Look at that. All those little leg snares on there. So I'm going to put these in the hives today. I'm out here fooling around with this project and this video. But yeah, this is what I got right here. Dry mop wipes, unscented. There's 16 of them in here. These were $2 or $3 cheaper than the Swiffer sheets. Looks to me, I've been playing with both. I got a sack of them here. I cut them in half too, by the way. These things were doubled. You pull them out, they were doubled. So what I did, put the scissors on them, cut them in half. Now I got 2 pieces. That way I can put one at each end of the hive by the end bars. So that's where all the beetles are running anyway. So we'll foot snare them, little sumbitches. When they go down running around, they'll be stuck in this stuff. And yeah, then we can throw them right in the trash. Yeah, those little bastards. I got some more. Miss Daisy got my store. Normally they have this. Max Roach. Yeah, Combat Max. It says it here, kills roaches, right? Kills the nest too, I guess. Maybe they go back to the nest, go into their dying cockroach position, and then the others may feed on it and they can die too. But let's see here. What is the active ingredient here? I don't see it on here. It starts with F. Starts with F. I can't pronounce it. I don't even see it on here. But anyway, this is what I've been using. I had it did come like this also in a smaller syringe, see, and lost the cap for it. They all come with a cap, and I lost the cap, so I just shoved a matchstick in it, and that plugged it up. But I got a little bit left in that. See, that plunger's not all the way down yet, so I can bait up a bunch more traps, beetle barns with that. That's what I'm putting in the beetle barns. Also, I bought today, and this is not my trick. I got this information from Rick, Mr. Rick Sutton. He is a commercial bee man. Now, what do they do? What does commercial bee men do? They talk to, because they're doing it for a living, right? They talk to other commercial bee men to pick their brain. So I was talking to Rick the other day. I said, I'm converting everything, my whole operation, to medium boxes. And I'm going to cut deep frames. I got a crap load of them out here, guys. Well, here's a medium frame right here. This happens to be one you put a queen cell bar in it. That's what this is for. But you can see the size here. These are 6 1/4 from the top to here. 6 1/4. So I'm going to set my saw up. It's when I cut that deep frame, I'll get 6 1/4 from top to bottom. Okay. But I'm not even gonna use this strip. I was putting them back in and shooting them, cutting them here, cutting them on that line right there with my little whippy saw, and then fudging them in here on the inside and stapling them down through this way, because you're eliminating this. You're not eliminating this groove, but I'd shoot one staple in on the side, but I don't have to shoot them in this way. I guess I could if I cut them a little deeper and then put this wood on the back top side. I made a ton in the 70s, ton of frames using 2x4s. I would get 2x4s out of dumpsters, because back in them days, 70s, Florida was going ape shizit building homes. There's millions of homes. And them big dumpsters would be full. You see 2x4s sticking out. Some of them would get 8 foot long. And most of them were frame homes. There was a lot of block homes too, but I'd get all that free wood and I'd slice them up and I'd make top bars. That really nice, clear 2x4 spruce. I'd make top boards, bottom frame pieces. I'd make the end bars, all out of 2x4s. Sometimes you would get a little bo diddly in them because you're cutting them, and they might be a little wet or whatever, and you would get a little bo diddly in them, but it wasn't that bad that you couldn't use it, So back to what I'm doing, I'm taking the deep frames, I'm setting my table saw up for 6 1/4, and I'm blowing them through. And I'm going to drill, for this frame, I'm probably only going to do 2 holes here to pass through. Like I said, this is a Rick deal. These bobby pins. This is the brand I'm using. Made with 95% recycled. I'll be darned. And it's for all hair. Yeah, for all hair. So you hippies out there, and girls, whatever. Yeah, you could use these too, not only for your hair, but for your beehives. So here's what I got. I'm just going to drill a small hole through the end bars And my plasticell is going to be going into the top groove here. This top groove, plasticell. That's the other thing. When I'm cutting these deeps, a lot of them, the majority I have, I've got plasticell. I'm blowing right through, down through there. They're already, plasticell's already stuck in here. And if it isn't, I've got a lot of extra plasticell I can push in here. And to keep it locked up in there, I can fire up my little crock pot and get me a cheap dollar store baster and suck up some of that wax and just weld it in there. So with that deal, I can take my plasticell, put it in and bring it right up here close to this, to the bottom of this bar, so we can capture all the, you know, all of the comb we can get. Drill a small hole in, pass this through, and split that on that plasticell, and that will pin it right in place, you see. So that ain't my idea. I have seen guys do that in the past, but I've never done it. We're going to try it this time. And I'd actually forgot about it. And Mr. Sutton, I was talking to him, and he said, I know a commercial guy that does that. I said, really? He said, yep. He gave me a yep. So, yeah, we're gonna put these in, and we're gonna foot snare some beetles. And if I can foot snare a bunch of beetles, hey, I can just advertise I'm one of the best snaresmen on the planet. Because I am very proficient at snaring bobcats, coyotes, wild hogs. If you dig back in my archives, go way back, you'll see me snaring hogs. And I was doing it in areas that it's kind of the no zone. You shouldn't be really in there, like Swift Mud. But hey, taxpayer money bought that land. Why can't I go in there and utilize it? Yeah. Anyway, I have some Plains Indian blood in me, so I could just claim, listen, I'm reclaiming my land. You white people have had it long enough. I'm going to reclaim my land to utilize it. And I may still utilize it, not necessarily. I'm about done trapping. I have, those days are gone. All of my black people that were meat buyers, all of them checked out except Ruby. And Ruby is Greg's wife. He passed away from a stroke. He had a major stroke at work. But Greg, he liked to drinking real early in the morning. Drinking beer. Yep. Smoking cigarettes one after the other. Yep. Thinking you're Tarzan and bulletproof. Yep, well, that stuff will get you, bro. Stay away from it. Hookers will get you too. So stay away from the hookers, the beer, the whiskey, and the wine. Steve-O don't touch none of that stuff anymore. And stay away from sugar. Stay away from sugar. No doctor will tell you this, guys. None. It's corrupt and criminal what they're doing. I got to give you an update on my cardiologist. I went to see him yesterday. I thought crap was going to hit the fan. I told Miss Daisy, I said, oh man, he's going to freak out when he finds out what I've done. And she said, what have you done? I said, I got off cholesterol medication, and I got off the stupid statin drugs. I've been listening to Dr. Ovadia. You guys go out there and look at him. He's a heart surgeon. Dr. Ovadia. You've got another guy, Ken Berry. I know you surely heard of him. If you haven't, try to pull your head out of your backside and go to YouTube and look him up. But Ovadia is one I've been watching lately. He used to be completely out of control because he didn't know anything about it. He was eating the standard American diet. He was overweight. He had all kind of health issues. And then he's working on people every day on an operating table doing open heart surgery. And his health was failing. You listen to his story. Dr. Ken Berry, he was a primary care physician. Same kind of scenario. He's strictly carnivore now. You've got a bunch of Sean Baker, and then watch Anthony Chafee. Sean, I guess they pulled his license for whatever reason, because he was kind of training people in the way of natural. And I don't know if they found out whatever. I don't know the situation. All I know, they I guess pulled his license. He can't practice anymore. But he was a joint surgeon, and then Anthony Chafee also is a joint surgeon, and he's on YouTube. I mean, he's really gaining in popularity, guys. You got to check him out. You're going to learn so much from these guys, and they're all carnivores. My primary said, "You're plugging up. Your cholesterol's too high." I says, "Nothing to worry about." He said, "What do you mean it's not to worry? You're going to plug up and have a stroke." Well, I had a stroke, guys, but I didn't cause it. I did have some clogged arteries, both sides, but that was self-inflicted with cigarettes and beer, booze. Yeah. So stop all that stupid. Try to learn from Steve-O. I know you're picking up a few tricks of the trade on these bees. What little knowledge I have there after 62 years, but it is what it is. I'm still learning to this day all kind of good tricks. I think the cool thing about bees is, guys, you never stop learning. So you don't get bored, right? But yeah, this little trick here, I appreciate this little heads up trick, Rick. Because this is going to eliminate this bottom board on this thing. This slotted bottom board right here. I'm going to eliminate that. I'm going to bring this plasticell down to here. And then drill a couple holes. I'll have a bobby pin coming through there and one up here. And I'll be able to extract with these things. You just don't go ape shizit with the spin. You start real slow. You can blow out just about any frame, foundation, wax, whatever. If you crank that heavy ass loaded with honey frame, you spin that thing up fast, you're going to find the comb blown out on the sidewalls of that extractor. So just go slow. Just let it go slow. You'll see, just look down the side of your extractor on the inside. See that honey hitting the wall? Just kick it up slowly. You see it start thinning out, kick it up a little bit. Toward you get to the very end, you can get that thing hauling ass and sling out all that honey. Don't take long to clear these frames out. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you this little trick with the cloths here. I got enough here. I'm going to be going in the hives here shortly. I don't think I'm going to show you any of that. It's just a matter of putting one of these down at the end bar, at the other end of the hive, and toward the front of the hive, one there. So we're trapping and snaring beetle legs on either end of the hive. Also, I'm putting down some more. I picked up a 40-pound bag of rock salt. I've been putting fine salt down. I think the fine salt is good, but I think you use it more and it's more expensive. So I picked up rock salt, and I'm going to put a scoop of diatomaceous earth in the bucket, 5-gallon bucket, and I'm going to put a scoop of salt, rock salt in. It's kind of a finer rock salt. It's softener salt. 40-pound bags. I think I paid $7 and change for a 40-pound bag. I bought some pool salt. It was $14 something in a bag. I said, man, this is getting pricey. So then I thought that. I said, this rock salt is probably going to be better for the simple fact it's going to take longer for the rain to melt it. But it'll be under hives. You know, it's not going to be a direct hit of rain unless you get a monsoon flood. So anyway, that's what I'm doing this morning. Get things prepared to go in, and just a few things I'm doing today, guys. Keep me out of the titty bars. Because if I'm not in bees, guys, working every day in bees, Steve-O's going to get in trouble. I'm able to slip off to a titty bar or something. And those days are over for me, guys. At some point in your life, you got to grow up, okay? And I'm way past that, okay? At 75 years of age, I'm way past that. And Miss Stacy said, "You better grow up, son. I'm gonna lay a frickin' frying pan on your friggin' head." So I said, "I don't want any of that. So I will grow up, Miss Daisy. Trust me." Okay, guys. I don't know how she's put up with me for all these years, guys, but she has. So I got a good one. Put up with my stupid shizit all these years. But you see what I'm doing today. It's not much. It's just little common sense stuff. Yep. I'm going to start buying some 2x4s. I'm going to be buying them in 16-foot lengths. I told Miss Daisy, see, I'm not driving yet. I said, "You're going to have to drive me to Lowe's." I'm going to get some, what are you getting there? She said. I said, some 16-foot nice spruce 2x4s. What are you going to do with that? Make beehives. You got a ton of beehives out back. I said, "Yes, I know, dear. I know. But they're not what I want." She said, "Does it ever stop with you spending money in the bee business?" I said, "No." I said, Bob Benny's wife said the same thing. She said, "When are you going to stop spending money?" Bob said, "I guess when I get out of the bee business." So he kind of chuckled on that one. Anyway, I think it's going to work out sweet because I'm going to be chopping. I don't know the exact number of the inside dimension of my Beefy 8 framers. I think it's 12 inches, but it could be 13. We'll check that when I go to butchering them things. But I'm going to scarify the joints to where they stand up, 2x4 stand up, and put a nice fat bead of Bondtite 3, clamp it up for 24. I can come back and we can plow the frame rest, set the table saw up and plow the frame rest out, down 3/4 and out 3/4, which is half of the 1.5 inch 2x4 standing up. That's your frame rest. And then you cut the side panels 21 5/16. So very simple measurements. It works for me. You guys do what you want. The easiest thing for you to do is just buy Date Ant or Man Lake boxes. But have you seen the prices on them, guys? Oh, holy smokes. That's nuts. And the other thing I'm going to be doing on a real regular basis is making double screen boards. I'm just going to bore the 2 3/4 holes, like 3 of them in the middle of that thing. And that's going to be ventilation. That's going to be some ventilation. And that'll be a double screen board for splitting, or it'll be a base unit, actually bottom board for your hive. Now, if you're putting them on a flat surface like concrete, you're setting bees on concrete or something, you're going to have to put a cleat in there on that thing to get some air gap. And if you're driving from Florida to Michigan, you got to have some air gap in there so they can breathe. Otherwise, by the time you get to Michigan, you're going to have dead boxes of bees. So be thinking of that. But this trick here, I've got open bottom rails here. I'm just putting my beehives on pipes so they can breathe easily through them big 2 3/4 holes I've got down through there. So now I can just, if I need I don't have to tie up a box with a full screen on the bottom and 2 cleats. That is a base unit then. Now that hive is strictly for base. And what a pain in the butt that would be to go in and take the cleats off and pull all that screen off to make a honey super out of it. With my system and method, hey, you can move that box around. You can put it on the bottom. You can put it as supers. My plan is to run 2 mediums as a brood chamber, and then excluder. I'm thinking actually, as I get in honey production, I've got these plastic ones here. I ain't real proud of those things. And back in the 70s, late 70s and 80s, I used all metal. When I was in honey production, I used all metal, and they are expensive. I get it, but they work so much better. And the, you know, them wires are round. The bees slide right through them. These latest excluders I got look pretty good. But how long they'll last, I don't know. They're on Amazon. You can see them out there if you go on Amazon. They're, I don't know. I think I paid $7 a piece for them. I forget now. You can get them on special too. If you buy a lot of them, you can get a better break on them. But we'll see how those go. And yeah. Oh, I was going to tell you about the. Hang on a minute, I got to change batteries. Yeah, so let me continue on with the doctor visit yesterday. I quit a couple of his drugs. One was Eliquis, which is a blood thinner, and then cholesterol medication. I stopped all of that. Oh, and they give you the scare tactic, guys. You got to take this and this one because you've already had a stroke. Oh, you're right there. You're a candidate for a major stroke and this and that. I'm just sitting there looking at this stuff, guys. I'm going, oh, gee, man. Where do you freaks come up with this stuff? And they were talking about my primary even. He goes, what are you eating? I said, well, it's not the standard American diet. I'm a carnivore. Then he had an assistant, future to be. They got to have so much time with a regular doctor, you know, apprentice or whatever you call them. Still going to school, but then before he can be a real doctor, you got to have so much time with a real doctor. So he keeps bringing these guys in that are totally brainwashed by Big Pharma. Yeah, and Big Pharma's probably going to tell YouTube right now and shut that sumbitch up and get him off YouTube. They have shut down some of my videos too, guys. What happened to First Amendment right? Huh? I'm not telling you about what to do in the doctor stuff. I'm just telling you what happened to me. You make your own decisions, okay? Yeah. And as you learn this crazy stuff that I'm going to try to help you with, you're going to see the light. And the light is not standard American diet. That will plug you up. Sugar is poison. Alcohol, booze, I don't care if it's vino, beer, all of it. Jack Daniels, any kind of whiskey, whatever. It's poison to the human body. But everybody does it. They like that feel-good rum. Yeah. Everybody likes that rum and stuff. It's all poison. It's going to kill you. It's going to plug you up. It's going to shoot up your blood sugar. And then it's going to jack up your blood pressure. And you're heading for all kind of stuff. Diabetes, you name it. The whole laundry list of diseases is heading your way. So just stop it. Just stop it. After you start listening to Ovadia, I think his first name is Philip Ovadia. We start listening to him, Dr. Ken Berry, Sean Baker, Anthony Chafee. Throw in Sarah Salvador. Check her out. Yeah, you're going to start seeing the light. And anyway, I went in to speed this up a little. I went in to see my cardiologist. My primary guy sent me to the cardiologist when he saw all my numbers and stuff. I'm sending you to a cardiologist. You are a bad boy. Oh, I said, what's he going to do for me? He's going to show you what to do because your carotid arteries are clogged up. I said, oh. I knew what it was from. I knew it was from being a bad boy smoking and drinking back in the day. And I was warned about it, but you know, you're a smart-ass kid back in the day. You think you're bulletproof? No. No, bad stuff is heading your way. My grandfather on my dad's side told me about a long, long time ago, back in the, oh God, that had to be in the 50s, late 50s. I was born in 49. It was in the late 50s. He'd always preach it. He was a healthy guy. He was a cowboy. He was in it when he crawled into the saddle. He told me when he was 16, and he stayed 8 years in the saddle, and driving cattle through the Dakotas, North Dakota, South Dakota. I guess back in the day you could round up cattle, put your brand on them, and then you could haul them to a rail station and you could sell them. And they would move cattle all over the U.S., you know, by the train station. And that's what he did. He did for a long time. And then he was in town one day and over there shoeing, trimming horse hooves. And a doctor saw him. He was studying him. He went over there. The doctor's buggy driver, it was like the gun doc on Gunsmoke. That's kind of like the dude he was. He'd always go around on a buggy to house, delivering babies, fixing people that hit themselves with a splitting axe, you know, cutting firewood, all the dumb stuff. He went over there, and the doc said, listen, my buggy driver died, and I need a buggy driver. And I've been watching you with these horses, how cool you are with these horses. And he said, well, you know, I'm a cowboy. It's what I've done for 16 years. He said, well, I'll tell you what, that doctor said, that cowboy life is pretty rough. He said, well, I'm kind of used to it. You know, they're out there sleeping under the stars. Can you imagine, guys, sleeping under the chuck wagon while it's pouring down rain, you name it. And the doc said, I can give you a place to stay, and you can drive my buggy and move me from patient to patient. And yeah, you can make a good living here with me. So he did. He drove that buggy for that doctor. I don't know how many years. I never did nail that one down, but he drove that buggy for that doctor for a bunch of years, and then the doctor ends up dying from whatever. But Grandpa Earl, that's my middle name too, Stephen Earl Dennis. Earl, my grandfather, they started people around the town because the doctor was so good, and Earl, Grandpa Earl was always with the doctor. So they trusted him too. He's probably in there helping deliver babies and all kind of crazy stuff. And they would get a hold of somebody and send Earl out here. We got somebody hurt here. He can fix them. Well, he was doing it for a while. And then finally somebody came around, probably a new doctor coming in town to replace the dead doctor, right? And they went out and got Grandpa and said, what are you doing? You're not a certified, registered, whatever, doctor. You never went to school to be a doctor. Grandpa says, I had to quit or get in trouble. So he quit being a doctor. I think he ended up in Lansing, Michigan as a nut and bolt counter for one of the automakers. Yeah, nut and bolt counter. Whatever that entails. I guess counting nuts and bolts. I don't know. But, you know, they probably said, what have you been doing? Well, the last 16 years I've been moving cattle. I guess you can count really good. Yeah, I count cattle pretty good, he says. Okay, we need a nut and bolt counter. So that's the end of that story for my grandpa. Yeah. Anyway, he was pretty cool dude. he's always talking in my ear, Grandpa, and talking about health. This guy he kept himself. He could probably tear a whole car apart, rebuild it like my dad could. That's how my dad always got. He could overhaul a car in probably a white shirt with a tuxedo, and you never see a spot of grease on him. It's unbelievable. I'd be working with him. I'd come out of there looking like a total grease monkey. Oil and grease all over me. He'd have me turn apart vehicles and this and that. And Dad kind of get a chuckle at me. You know, I come out of there, I got oil on my face, grease all over me. And I said, how do you stay so clean? I just watch what I'm doing, he says. Unbelievable. Yeah, so I just drift off on these stories. I got to get back to this doctor. Anyway, well, I drifted off there, didn't I? Doctor says, I called their office. I said, listen, I got to get off this Eliquis. My butt is plugged up. I got constipated, guys, from hell. I've never been that constipated in my entire life. And if you're on a carnivore diet, you just pass that stuff real smooth because you're taking in a lot of animal fats. That lubricates your whole pipes. Very good. That's how we are designed. I don't care what these fruitcake lefties try to tell you. You got to eat kale and all this. My primary says, he said, what kind of diet? I said, a carnivore. And he starts laughing. The soon-to-be doctor, he was also brainwashed. He starts laughing. And then my primary looks at this other doctor, and she's chuckling. He just shaking his head. Then he looks back at me. Where do you come up with this stuff? I said, if you're ever interested, I can turn you on to doctors that they are carnivores. He going, oh my God, that's ridiculous. He said, you gotta have fiber. I said, I get fiber. I get fiber in the meat. Listen, Doc, my bowels work great. You don't need, what is that fiber drink? You know, what is it? Floor sweepings off a dairy barn or something they put in there? Metamucil or some goofy stuff. You don't need none of that. None of it. See, again, now I'm going to get in trouble with Big Pharma. It's a flippin' joke, guys. It's a joke what they're doing. Anyway, I told him, I said, no. I got bowel movements that's going to rip my butthole out. And I quit that stuff, the Eliquis and the cholesterol medication. That's another fake farce stuff they try to push on. If your HDL is above 50, guys, you're golden. I don't care. This is where I'm really going to get in trouble, guys. I don't care if that LDL shoots to the freaking moon. And I've told them that before, my primary, and their heads start spinning like Linda Blair, and green vomit's going to shoot out any minute. I'm going, oh my God, this guy's going to barf green any minute. But I'm here to tell you guys that what I'm doing on this carnivore thing is a good thing. A lot of you out there saying, God, see, quit talking about that. We all know this, we all know that. No, most people don't. And any doctor out there will not tell you the truth. They will not tell you the truth. It's absolutely corrupt to the max. So again, I drifted off. Yeah, this is a cardiologist he sent me to, my primary did, and he put me on all this crap. My body don't work on this stuff. I don't know if it's because of Plains Indian blood in me or what the heck it is. None of them medications work with me. Major side effects. If you pull up the side effects on all these different drugs, like Eliquis and all this, my body, if you look down through that list, that's exactly what happens to my body. And you know what the cardiologist, I told him that one time. He said, do you know the brain is one of the most powerful things in the world? I'm thinking, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're probably right. Your brain can tell you if you've looked over at those side effects before you took the medication. Your body's going to react. Your brain's going to tell your body to react to those side effects. I told him, I said, no, I had faith in you, and I just took the medication. Then I had the issues, and then I go to the poop sheet, find out what's up, and there it is. That medication. So don't sit there and tell me my brain is tricking my body. No, don't tell me that. No. This is the parlor tricks they try to play. Now, well, I told him I went off this stuff. He said, look, he was cool about it. This cardiologist, younger guy's a Russian. And he was cool. I thought he was going to start pounding the desk like my primary's done with me in the past. And he's probably going to call up my primary and say, listen, you sent me over here a dude that has a listening problem. And he's going to probably say, well, just who is that? And he's going to tell him my name. He said, and then the comeback will be for my primary. Oh yeah, he calls me Stevie. He says, Stevie, don't call me Steve. He calls me Stevie. Yeah, you're dealing with Stevie, and Stevie's got a whole different outlook on life. So just deal with it. Yeah, I've had enough of this silly nonsense. I'm doing my own thing. And this primary said, listen, I told you, you know, if you don't take this medication I've got you on, that you are setting yourself up for a blood clot, your heart attack, stroke. Oh, I said, I've been there. You know, I listened to you guys before, and then you go ahead and do some dumb stuff. He did. Another doctor did. He was a stent guy. This guy I'm going to now, he's a cardiologist. The guy that did my neck cuts, he's not a cardiologist. He's just a vein vascular surgeon. He calls himself vascular surgeon. Oh, okay. Yeah. And I told him, I said, listen, doc, I understand. You've told me this. I said, the guy that did my neck cuts told me, yeah, I can kill you on the table. All right. Because he said, I want to explain all the downside to this surgery. I can give you a stroke and yada, yada. And I said, listen, I looked at the guy and I said, yeah, probably so, but you're not going to do any of that for me, are you? He kind of like smiled and had a little sneer to his face. And I told this cardiologist, I said, listen, I told this other surgeon, I came in here to do prevention surgery. And I told him that too when I was in this hospital. I said, I came to you for prevention. And the guy said, yeah, well, I told you this possibilities. But here's what happened. I finally, I dig into stuff. And I found out exactly what happened, guys. I wouldn't have this stroke right now. And I'm getting better on this whole situation. I'll be up to speed here probably, I don't know what it's going to take, a year, 6 months, whatever, more. But I'll be up and driving and hauling my bees all over frickin' Hell's Half Acre soon, I hope, to make honey and money for Miss Daisy. But, yeah, I told him, I told this guy, I said, listen, I know what happened on that surgery. He said, well, I could see you into AFib. That's what they told me in the ICU. The doctor came in while I was in the ICU. He said, yeah, you had that stroke because your heart went into AFib. Well, AFib, if you don't know, guys, it starts pounding like a Detroit diesel when it got a whiff of gasoline. Detroit diesels are 2-cycle. It gets a heavy whiff of gasoline. What does it do? It runs away. It just fires up and runs 100 miles an hour until the rods come out the side of the block. They will self-destruct. That gasoline, because they fire, especially on a diesel, it fires under compression. Well, if you feed it gasoline, it's going to run away. Same basic thing. If you send some bad particles to your freaking brain, your brain's going to tell your heart, hey, we're freaking dying here, bro. Start pumping. So then your heart, you don't need to be a rocket scientist for this, guy, just common sense. Your heart's going to turn into a Detroit diesel, 2-cycle, and it's going to start pounding blood to your freaking brain. But by then, okay, it's too late. You've done the damage. And this was the beauty part of this whole thing. They had me plugged into my skull with pins and wires going over here to a station. The guy was watching a monitor. He could tell, watching that monitor through the whole surgery, when I had the stroke. So they went ahead with this. This side went fine. This side was 85% blocked, like I've told you in the past. This side was 80% blocked. So they did the bad side first. That all went good. They got all those particles out. But on this side, apparently, who knows? I don't know what happened. He had an open heart surgery before mine, and things went terribly wrong. I don't know if that person died or not, but things went terribly wrong and put the whole deal. I was in a staging room off the side prior to going in. There's a little offshoot room over here, waiting. And every hour, I asked the nurse walking by, "Hey, what's going on over there?" Oh, they're having complications. I said, okay, well, they should be getting to you soon. Yeah, okay. And this went on for 4 hours, guys. That poor person, whatever they did to that person, I don't know. And like I said, I don't know if that person is 6 feet under now or what. But anyway, I told this guy, I said, I know exactly what happened. Because I'd been watching a YouTube of a heart surgeon, that does a lot of these cuts. And he said, I do, and they had it right there showing it. This one computer generated or nothing. It was a live show of him doing this surgery. And he showed how to clamp it. They wrapped like a band around above the plaque and below. And they take a scalpel and run down through there and expose that entire artery, open it up. You look like a filleted fish. And then they get in there and they pick out the plaque, right? And a lot of times it's so hard on the video, it comes out one piece. Pretty wild. Well, what he said, what I do, the surgeon said, what I do, and most don't, I back bleed. So I was in there yesterday telling this guy that does the stents. He said, well, I said, this whole thing has been a Freddy Krueger nightmare on Elm Street since February 3. He said, well, they did go over all the complications that could happen. I said, yeah. You can get my pickup truck, and I can tell you it's possible, okay? It's possible that we could die today in a vehicle accident. And then you can make the decision, do you want to get in the front seat with me or haul ass, I said, I could tell you the same thing by that scenario. But am I going to take you and I down the road and just kick it up to 80 mile an hour and slam into an oak tree? No, no, I'm going to avoid that, okay? I'm going to avoid that. And so I shut him up right then. And then I jumped into the main goodies. I cut to the chase. I said, listen, what happened here? And he tells him, well, you had your heart went into AFib. I said, yeah, I know it went into AFib. That's what he told me when he came out. And he told me that's the reason that I had a stroke. My body just all of a sudden decided to go AFib. Here's what I think, guys, and I know I'm right. There's a clamp above the plug, the artery, all right? And there's one below. And this guy says, what I do is back bleed. But what he did first, the downside of that artery, he cracked the, basically the valve. It was the clamp. And blood starts coming out at a pretty good rate. So as it's coming out, they got a sucker tube that ran right down in there close to that clamp and sucking up any debris that was in there. And then they took a Q-tip, kind of wallered it around, and the blood's still coming pretty good, and they sucked that out. I didn't lose enough blood on this thing I signed paperwork saying if I needed a blood transfusion, I could get it, but I had to sign for it. In case I bled too much on the table or they cut a stupid main artery and I start pumping out, Anyway, yeah. So they suck the debris up coming from the power side, which is the pump station side, your heart side, up to your brain, where the second clamp is above the crud in your neck. So then he said, this is what I do. I back bleed. So they have the little sucker tube right there. They run the Q-tip up in there and they kind of clean it out. There's no blood flow coming. But you loosen that clamp on the high side, your brain side, it starts back feeding. Yeah, back bleeding. That's where he came up with back bleeding. He said, most guys don't do this. Well, that's a smart surgeon right there. Because there could be a little particle. I don't know how big a particle it does to go through there and hit your brain and give you a stroke. Who knows? But obviously there was, Doc. This guy did not argue with me a bit. He knew I was right, guys. I could tell by his look, I'm looking at his face and his demeanor, knowing that that's exactly what happened. Exactly. When they cracked, if he would have opened that clamp up a little bit and this pressure side, there's nothing coming from the bottom up because they got it clamped off. From the top, the blood can come the other way and come in. You're right there with a vacuum sucking up any small particles from that clog, artery clog, and pick those particles up. And I know this because they too just decided, okay, and I don't even know if this guy knows about back bleeding. He probably doesn't, because this surgeon, the way he was talking on YouTube, acted like not too many people do what I do. When I was talking to this stent guy, he knew exactly what I was talking about. He's just sitting there going, yeah. But he didn't want to comment at all. Less is more, right? He didn't want to say jack shizzit about this screw up. Okay, now I'm going to recover from this, guys. I really do think so. I think the man's watching out for old Steve-O. And with you guys' prayers, I'm going to come through this. And I'm going to be back into the beehives hot and heavy soon, driving my truck, driving bees around to different locations. That's how you make money with bees. You got to keep hitting the different crops. And then you've got to be physically fit enough to do that. So that's where I need to get back to and keep doing this all the way up till they put me in a pine box. And that shouldn't be till, I don't know, 125 to 175. How's that number, guys? Anyway, the guy agreed with me. He's going, he said, there's many ways that you can get going to AFib. There's many ways. And I said, I'm going, no, Doc. There probably is, but the people that you're doing it to have a ton of different medical issues, okay? I didn't have hardly any medical issues other than carotid artery plugging up that I caused eons ago with smoking and drinking. Okay? And he knew I was right. He just totally clamped up, guys. And then he quit talking shizzit about medications. I said, I'm going off of this stuff. He said, all I can tell you is, and they're told by Big Pharma, you're going to push these drugs, or you're not going to be having a freaking license. So if you get I had to sign paperwork, not with this guy, but my primary, said that I refused to take cholesterol medication. That, guys, by doing that, they are not held accountable. Big Pharma is not going to come on to drag them on the carpet and give them a spanking on the wrist because they're not pushing enough of these toxic drugs. You don't need them, guys. All you need is a good, healthy, all foods diet. You do not need processed grains, all this bread and junk and cakes and cookies and Snicker bars, and you name it. No, you don't need any of that. And you will have cravings from hell when you start coming off of it. Like I did. I had cravings from hell when I was in the hospital after 11 days or 14, I think it was 14 days I was in there assing around. I had some serious, and I gained 20 pounds. Gained 20 pounds. So when I came out of there, I had sugar cravings from hell. And, yeah. So I know the sugars all that stuff, ice cream and all this stuff, I was just craving it. But they messed me up in there with the diet. I told the doctor there, the cardiologist, I said, this whole place is nothing but carbs. I said, poison. You're killing people with this crap. He agreed with me. And he said, no problem. I said, let me tell you something, Doc. I'm on hypertension medication, but I guarantee you I'm going to be coming off of that pretty soon, too. He just looked at me like, what the heck? Because once I've asked these modern doctors before, once you get on this, like hypertension medication, can you ever get off? And over half of them go, nope, you're stuck for life. Well, yeah, you're stuck for life if you just keep up with the standard American diet, because that jacks your blood sugar, and then here comes the high blood pressure. So you have to do your own homework, guys. But I like to, throw out these tidbits so you guys can see how much you're getting in the backside by Big Pharma, okay? And remember this, that hole down there, it's an outie, not an innie. So I'll see you real soon, guys. God bless you. Be happy, be strong. We're going to keep getting on. And we're going to keep on training doctors. How's that? See you soon. Bye-bye.